we have the closing remarks, which will be a few minutes. So it's my privilege to, so we have 5 panelists for this discussion, and the way it is that you can ask a question, I will moderate the question, and they will answer according to the capacity. I'm going to tell you who is specialized in what. So you can address the question accordingly, and if you don't know who's who, just ask the question, the appropriate person in the panel would answer the question. So in no order of seniority, let me invite Dr. Archana Singal as the panelist. She has more than 270 PubMed index publications. She is a dermatologist by profession and chair of the department. She has edited 4 books, 50 chapters. She is editor-in-chief of the Indian Journal of Dermatology, Venereology and Leprology. She is associate section editor for British Journal of Dermatology, editorial board member, Journal of European Academy of Dermatology and Venereology. She has received numerous awards. Just by the how many editorships she has, you can imagine the rest her CV should be running at least 100 pages long. So we are happy to welcome her as the panelist of the day. Now the next speaker, panelist is Dr. Albina Nair. And she is PhD in biochemistry and currently at Archana Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. She has a postgraduate diploma in health economics, healthcare financing, and policy. So indexing and all these things, and there was a question about impact factor and the APC charging, all those questions should be addressed to her. She has more than 12 years of editorial experience with the Indian Journal of Medicine Research and member of the World Association of Medical Editors. She has won numerous awards and is on the ethics committee of various scientific publishing companies where she deals with the regulatory ethics, research integrity for the publication. Next is Dr. Rahul Ramachandran. He is PhD. He needs a much bigger applause, and I'll tell you why. He is a non-doctor. He works for NASA. He is a very big shot, but he cannot participate as a NASA representative in the meeting. Therefore, we have taken away the word NASA from the written context everywhere. However, he has agreed to participate. He is one of the experts in the artificial intelligence. So you can ask him any question regarding artificial intelligence, whether as it pertains to medical publishing or what is new and how it will impact our lives and what we can do with it. He has many peer-reviewed publications and has made very significant contributions to the aerospace science. He has also received the Presidential Early Award from President Obama, so he is very highly accomplished. It's my honor to invite Dr. Surinder Rana. He is 623 publications. He deserves a very big congratulations. And he is also professor in charge and in charge of the Tulsidas Library, PGI, Chandigarh. And then very distinct honor to invite Dr. Bipin Batra, who has been the chair of the National Board of Examination in Medical Science in India. He just stepped down about 2 years back, and he is very, very knowledgeable in policy making, especially as it pertains to examinations oversight and postgraduate medical education and examination. So with that, the session is open, and I would like to invite the audience to ask the first question. If you do not have a question, I have too many to ask. So please. Yes, sir. Mike?
And most reliable one to do so that we can enhance our knowledge, and that program has some kind of credibility when we, write it in our CV, and there's something much to learn. Preferably a hybrid mode, because we are all professionals and we cannot just go there and do on-site. Thank you.
This is on. Great question. I would suggest going to Coursera. There are courses by Andrew Ning out of Stanford that are fantastic. There are different levels. I think within Coursera there is something called deeplearning.ai, and those have courses ranging from just from beginners to all the way for people who are computer scientists. So I think that's the best resource I would recommend for you to basically learn. I think the thing to learn for everyone right now would be learning how to do prompt engineering. Like, how do you ask questions the right way to the LLM so that you get the right answer?
Again about AI. So we would like to know, as editors, we are all dealing with journals, and now that we are all adapting to the AI technology. My question is whether, it is totally 100% safe to put our data in AI for examination and all that, since, everything is copyright protected, and as editors, we take the responsibility. So whether the copyright infringement is totally taken care of in the safe AI networks, or how does it work?
Good question. I would say probably not, because everything goes back to the servers there, right? So if I am using information that's proprietary to NASA, we have to use models that are firewalled off so they don't go back to the parent company. So we have our own instances of language models that we run. So everything stays within our firewall and the information is protected there. So be careful about that. That's a great question.
Next question.
Yeah, this is from author's perspective. For instance, I did excellent prompt engineering, and I asked certain questions, and I, did a research literature survey, and then I wrote it in my own language, and I submitted it back to AI for, say, a grammar check or a language check. So is my final product safe? I mean, would it, again, if it comes for copyright and all, or plagiarism, is it safe? That is my question.
Lots of things to unpack there.
So what is, I am doing everything. I am asking the questions. I generated the information, though the information came from the AI. Then I put it together, I used my own perspective, and then sent it back.
Yeah, I think that's potentially okay from copyright perspective. I think as long as when you're publishing it, you're open about how you use the AI in terms of, even for your doing grammar checks, correcting proofreading, proof editing, as long as you're open about it, I think that's fair.
I think there was another thing that was brought up in the morning about rejection period that journals generally take. So I think Dogra sir pointed out that sometimes it so happens that editors would reject a journal or reject a paper like 9 or 10 months down the line. And is it acceptable, or maybe how much period is an acceptable period if you are to reject a paper? This is something because medical editors are generally multitasking and not only doing medical editing. So maybe Dr. Albina.
Thank you for that, and that's the sticky bucket that comes up every single time. So to answer your question, yes, it's a loss if we delay for whatever reason. And that's something that each and every editor needs to curb consciously, whether there is a delay at the level of desk level decision pertaining to a rejection, or if it is post peer review. So having said that, I can talk about our journal, IJMR. We have consciously made efforts towards decreasing the timeline, and you will get a desk rejection between 0 day to, if you don't mind, 2-3 days now, if you submit an article. Worst comes to worst, is there holidays, then within a week. And if an article was sent for peer review, you would get the first decision in 4 weeks, ma'am, whether it's rejection or not. So I think timelines are absolutely essential towards quick decision making. And yes, I guess all editors are trying to curb that. Ma'am, would you like to add?
Yeah, I think submission to publication time is the key, but I think Albina is pretty over-ambitious. For original article, 4 weeks post-review is almost impossible, because sometimes it takes 4 weeks for certain, niche original article to find a reviewer, and then, of course, you have to set a deadline from the editor's desk. So I have set a deadline for case report and all. Once it passes the technical check, if it comes to me or my associate editors, we get the manuscripts divided amongst us. The decision has to be within a week. But for original article after peer review, sometimes it takes 3 months also. But then when you reject such articles, you give a fair review process details and the lacuna, so that the author is able to incorporate those changes, and if you want to resubmit to your journal or he submits somewhere else. But yes, very, very important is to establish a timeline for everything. Otherwise, it's an open Pandora box and can go haywire.
Yeah, good afternoon. I am Dr. Venkat. I have 2 questions. It's joined together. The first question is what you have responded to for the desk rejection. What exactly is the criteria, what you do for the desk rejection? And following that, I have a second question. Is this acceptance rate, what we call it standard, is there a criteria for example, from the desk rejection, that is also an acceptance rate, after the peer review, acceptance rate, after the peer review when it's the second round, that time also. Like, I wanted some comments on both the points.
All right. So your first question was about desk rejections, the criteria. So typically for any journal, the criteria would first and foremost include the scope, whether the article fits into the scope of the journal, whether the type of article that demands that particular format, it fits into the journal context, and then that's pretty much mainly, that's the main part actually. Other than that, yes, we have poorly written, it's just literally like 4 lines or something. I think that you can't even call it an article, So blogs and things like that, that can be considered. And if there is any kind of detected plagiarism, that is a big no. Of course, there's a bit of a leeway that most journals would consider, whether that the plagiarism is in the method section and that can be salvaged by informing the authors to probably provide a reference and take care of that. That's a bit of a way of journals to handhold authors, to encourage them so that authors don't feel deterred, basically. But then if there's an extensive plagiarism, then certainly that's a big no, because that would require like a lot of inputs from the editorial and it would be like a waste of time for the author as well. So these are basically the main criteria, and I think many journals do consider also the study period. Like I can tell you, most of the international journals would not consider articles if the data generated and included in the article was more than 3 years old. We would be a bit more relaxed in that context and more encouraging towards longitudinal data, which could be older. And in case of secondary analysis, there again we would be more lenient in that way. Like for example, if you've done a secondary analysis of the NFHS 4 or 5, so we won't go like, okay, if NFHS 5 is there, why are you doing 4 analysis or you're doing a comparative analysis? So mostly the desk level rejection is done in a fashion that it is more pro for the authors, more conducive for consideration. It is not to reject, it is more to how we can be more inclusive. That's my take on that.
About acceptance.
So yes, acceptance, if you go from the journal portals, it would be from the total number of articles submitted, the whole thing, and for example, in the year 2024, from calendar year Jan 1st to December 31st, total number of submissions, total rejected, total accepted, that would be the thing. However, yes, if you talk about a report in terms of the journal context, we would consider all articles processed for peer review and then accepted or rejected.
In the convention, I mean, how is it other journals, like reputed journals, how are they doing? And how IJMR is doing?
So, basically, they don't consider like the acceptance rate. What is important to all journals, whether IJMR or international journals, is the TTD, basically. So, that desk rejection is one component of it, and basically, you don't segregate in terms of how many got accepted in the first round of peer review or how many went for re-evaluation. No. It would be like the ideal way is like total number of unsolicited articles and out of that how many were accepted.
Yeah, it's the same way we are doing, and I think most of the international journals are doing the same way. And at least I can vouch for British Journal of Dermatology, for which I happen to be a associate section editor. So it's done the same way, like desk rejections and then post-peer review rejections of the total number. And I think scope of the article is very, very important. Like sometimes we never have the intention to reject anything, but if we get an original article which has only mouse model experiment and it doesn't align with our readership, because we are most of the clinical dermatologists, we do try to include the basic research, but that should have some potential clinical translation into practice, right? So we suggest very politely, and this is done from the desk of the editor, that they can submit it to their specialty journal, right? If I get an article, like yesterday I got an article which was out and out surgical, abdominal hysterectomy and subcutaneous manifestation, and they had presented a data of 15 years. But that was not valid for us. So scope is very important.
One more different angle question. Like editorial board, let us suppose you have 10 people. Any of the journals, do they mention their role? For example, forget about the editor-in-chief, associate editor. Then there's an editorial board. Any of the journals, do they define their role? What exactly should be, or what do they do?
I can say, like in IJDVL we have editor-in-chief, then we have 5 associate editors. All the manuscripts that crosses the technical check gets equally divided among 6 of us. But then, according to the area of expertise, we have 19 section editors. So the article is, and the section editor doesn't know, it's blinded. Only up to the associate editors we know from where the manuscript is coming. So after that, according to the area of expertise of the section editor, the manuscripts are assigned to them, and they know, again, I am also very fond of designing timelines. We have timelines for everything, so they have to assign for peer review within 1 week, and of course they have to get the peer review which we have, for original article it has to be minimum 3 to 4 peer review. For case reports and other letters and viewpoints, it is minimum 2. So that has to be done. First round should be done at least not more than 6 to 8 weeks for original articles, and preferably within 4 weeks for the other, smaller articles.
Thank you.
My question is to...
IJDVL has a very different, which I think Dr. Ramam introduced, content editing. So sometimes, it's now there are certain journals which do not care for the grammar and, the language check. Like Mycosis, it's an international journal. They are ready to accept any language provided you are able to understand what is being conveyed. They are not fussy. But of course, in IJDVL, once the letter is accepted, once the manuscript is accepted, it goes to the content editor. If there is certain thing that has been missed out on by the reviewers or by the section editor, and then that is added. And if there is because we get a lot of manuscripts from the non-native English speakers like China, Taiwan, Korea, Indonesia, and their content is very good. If the content is very good, we make an effort to polish it and make it, refine it language-wise and grammar-wise. So that's an additional step. Earlier, so we have deadlines, 10 days for the original article and the review and the meta-analysis. So, and 7 days for other manuscripts. So 7 to 10 days, this is an extra time, but this really refines the article for the readers. So it is done in an editable Word format so that, some authors are not very tech savvy and they do not want to make big changes or, sometimes in the PDF format. So this becomes easier for us, and to and fro, movement after the galley proof and all is avoided. Another thing IJDVL as dermatology is a visual science, we have image editors. So one of the important cause for rejection from the editor's desk is suboptimal quality of images. If an article is too good, and we think that when in print, the quality further gets compromised. So such manuscripts are converted into the net articles, whether it's a net study or, images. And another thing that I have introduced in IJDVL is that all original article and all studies, they first go to the statistical editors, because most of we are clinician and our statistical acumen is not that great. So to tell that authors that after peer review that your methodology was flawed is not fine. So if they go to the statistical editor, sometimes the methodology is not rectifiable at that point of time. So it gets rejected there and then within a week's time. But if it is okay, then it gets passed on for the peer review.
My question is for Dr. Surinder Rana, sir. As the editor of a super specialty journal like Journal of Digestive Endoscopy, how critical it is for an editor to manage a super specialty journal in India in terms of management of the overall content quality? And my second question is that what do you think is the critical role of the publisher in terms of supporting with the technicalities of the software, for example, as well as the publishing support in terms of strategy for indexing and the overall growth? Thank you, sir.
It's a very, very important question. Super specialty journals, as you would understand, the base is very narrow. So the number of articles which comes to a super specialty journal would be very less as compared to journal specialty articles. So the challenges, especially like for a super specialty, which is an endoscopy, so it is basically a super specialty of a super specialty. So the number of articles which we get are very limited, especially the original articles. So we have a challenge of having a sufficient number of articles as well as maintaining the quality, because you just can't accept any article. So the one biggest challenge is, one, obviously the number of articles. Secondly is having an editorial board, because super specialties and institutions is very limited. So to have a broader base, you will have to include people who are into practice and also are interested in academics. So that's again is a big challenge for running a super specialty journals. And then obviously a peer review for people who are into interventions. It's very difficult to get these people to review. So you have to have a good review base, which again is a big challenge for running a super specialty journal. So to my mind, these are three big challenges for running a super specialty journal. Regarding the second question from the publisher, I think the important support would be to have a good quality submitting platform. The authors would feel encouraged if the submissions process is simplified. I have been editing a couple of journals where the publishers are a little reluctant to implement the changes. They are more stringent on having the forms and other things signed and uploaded. So that increases the workload for authors, and authors don't like those journals where the submission process is more complicated vis-a-vis an journal where the submission process is simplified. Like for example, our endoscopy top journal for America is GI endoscopy, which has a very simplified submission process. They call it submission the author's way. So you just paste everything in one PDF uploaded. It is gone through the first peer review and it is found to be maybe suitable, then the second submission would be as per the submitting criteria of the journal. So that increases the authors or encourages the authors to submit the articles. And second is obviously an editing support. We need to have good English editing and language editing for the articles, because many of the articles written by endoscopists may not be of a high quality English, and grammatical errors would be there. So that sort of support is needed. That editing should be provided in a substantial manner. It should not be just a simple grammarly check and then the article is sent for publications. So I think these are two important issues which publisher needs to provide to us.
So, just a comment on the English language support. In my department, many years back, America is an English-speaking country. Still, I implemented a editorial support. Any radiology resident could write any article and submit to this person, and she will comply with the author guidelines and make the article suitable, figure legend to be in that compliance, English that compliance, and submit the paper. With that, what used to happen is that you are responsible to create the skeleton and the appropriate science. You provide the figure, you describe the disease, and somebody else will polish it and write accordingly what the journal wants. So the productivity can also increase very significantly. So now my question is for Dr. Bipin Batra, and the question is there a requirement in the postgraduate courses to demonstrate scholarly activity? Like in the US, all my radiology residents must demonstrate at least 2 to 3 scholarly activities, and how they are demonstrated is by publishing in a peer-reviewed journal which is indexed in PubMed. So are there any such requirements in the Indian system?
Right. So thank you Professor Dogra for a very nice question. There is no mandatory requirement as of now in post-graduation, although since last year a major change has been made that thesis is now substitutable by a published paper in an index journal in the Diplomat National Board programs. So that is a progressive step that the thesis is dispensable. For some other programs which are affiliated to Royal Colleges, we are running in India a large spectrum of course residency programs which operate with affiliation to the Royal Colleges of UK. So there are a large number of scholarly activities which are mandatory. Which the basic requirement over there is at least 2 quality improvement projects, which include complete cycles of PDS, which means loop closure is mandatory. And we earlier used to call them clinical audits. And beyond then, a publication or a presentation at a regional or a local conference is strongly encouraged. So that is the current scenario.
So I have a
Delhi University mandates 1 published paper and 2 presentations before you can appear for MD exam.
I have a question.
Sir, I would want to add that
Mike.
Since I am from the field of dentistry, I would like to add that the Dental Council of India, there is a mandate for at least one research paper publication before you sit for your post-grad exam, but there is no condition about the indexing status of the journal. It could be anything, but one research paper, and of course 2 presentations, 1 poster presentation, 1 scientific paper presentation in the specialty conference, not any conference, in the whole 3 years, but 1 paper is a must.
Thank you. So we will follow up with the next question. I'm going to ask questions in terms of practical issues I have faced in last 35 years. So the other issue is, in the Indian publication specifically, you have an article which came, it was peer reviewed, found to be excellent, is accepted. It goes for Delhi proof. Now all of a sudden, the author writes a letter saying, please add Dr. Dogra, he has contributed very significantly to this paper as an author. So I always write back to them, where were you when the article was submitted? If Dr. Dogra had contributed so significantly, his name should have been added right in the beginning. So indirectly what I am trying to say, there is a pressure to add the mentor or the chair or head of the department as an author, which comes up as a secondary thought. So the question is 2 parts. Number 1, whose prerogative it is to allow? And the second is, should it be? And third is, why is it there? So I think why is it there should be answered by Dr. Bipin Batra, and whose authority it is should be answered by the editors. Rahul himself was also editor of the journal, so you are also free to answer. And of course Archana and Albina all are free to answer. Please.
I think sometimes it becomes very difficult to objectively quantify that what exactly is the contribution. So eventually it's teamwork, but I fully agree to the process that blanket observations should be avoided, and generally we follow a descending order in terms of contribution, and people do make a mark over there because of their seniority, presence, irrespective of the contribution.
But that's not the answer, that's not the truth. You just sugar-coated it and made idiot out of me. I need the truth. We are here, we are adults, we can tolerate everything.
So I can speak for what we do for IGDBL. So we have on the website, earlier we used to have like 10 authors for a single case report and 8 from one department, and now we have a well drafted guidelines as author guidelines that for case report 4 including +2 from other collaboratory departments. It's not very hard and fast because now recently I got where a gastroenterologist was involved and microbiologist, pathologist and neurologist, and of course so then we can only for under special circumstances we can allow more than 4 or more than 6 whatever, but otherwise it has to stay confined. Part 2, that nobody gets added once the article is accepted. Only during peer review, or if there is there can be an oversight, but it has to be realized by the authors before the acceptance. After acceptance, nobody gets added. That's hard and fast rule. However they want to do it, they have to manage with their bosses. And this is because I learned from many people, I think that people are paying money to get added. Under one circumstances, like it's a case report where there are a number of pathology images, but a pathologist has not been included. So we ask the authors to include a pathologist also, just to be sure of the content that as we are publishing. So that is it.
So I'd like to come in because yes, this is a sticky conversation, but then it's a very important one because it entitles the credit of contribution, which is important to the authors. So it's most likely handled on a case-to-case basis, and yes, most of the cases we do not consider additions post-acceptance. But lately what I have realized is we do a lot of public health, so we get a lot of multicentric studies, and we've had instances where some of the people who were like project staff and things like that from particular center who did the data collection, and they were excluded from the authorship, and they were probably acknowledged, and that acknowledgement wouldn't serve them good enough reason for an application. So to be more inclusive in that way, at IGMR, what we do is not to be policing in that sense. However, we initiate a dialogue. We initiate a dialogue with all the authors, not just the corresponding author, and we try and get them to talk amongst each other, to come to a consensus so that no credit is dropped out. Because at the end of the day, in fact, right now, globally, there is a dialogue saying that why should you decide as to who contributed more? If it is a senior author and the number of publications is not a criteria for his performance assessments, then he can be the corresponding author, and all the kids who contributed to some part of the study, they can have a shared authorship. So so we also do that. We never used to do that earlier, but now we do. We have not 1 or 2, we can have like 6 or 8 authors who contributed equally, in which case their names would appear in like A, B, C, D, not like 1, 2, 3, 4. So I think, or we would just put a symbol and, we would say that there's a star or a dagger saying that they contributed equally, because it would matter. That contribution would matter to somebody so long as we have academic performance assessments like, Dr. Sharman Singh was saying, you were saying, so long as we are assessing our authors and students based on the number of publications, it is also our duty to be as inclusive as possible.
So I will just share our experience, how we do. So before a project is undertaken, it's customary in the US that you assemble your team and then you discuss who is going to do what. It is not, the authorship is not based upon who is senior and who is junior. The authorship is purely based upon who is doing the major skirt work and whose idea it is. If the idea belongs to me, my CV is 100 pages, I am 4-track professor, I need no more publication, however, I will be the first author. Because I am the one who created the whole thing, I am the one who wrote everything. You came and you wrote 2 sentences, you brought 1 figure, you wrote 1 figure legend, you are junior, that will not entitle you to become the first author. Then, who is going to do statistics? Who is going to do figures? Who is going to do what is all decided? And then the work starts. And the authorship is decided before the work starts. There is no ambiguity.
But in practice, it's not like that.
No, that is how it is. That is how it is. So I am just sharing the culture. That is how we do it. Every time. Because in the US, this is a very big issue of not writing somebody's name, not giving him appropriate order. Because in the US, it is author number 1 who gets the maximum point, author 2 gets the second point, 3rd, 4th, 5th gets 0, and the last one gets 0.
It's the same.
So when you come to promotion,
Can I add something?
please. Mike?
I think most of the editors' website, I am on their behalf also. I am not agreeing to you. Because in the US also, I think those particularly like the clinical case, who sees, manages the patient and treats the patient, or in the paramedics or other departments who actually works, they are the first author. Idea person is usually the senior author, corresponding author. I beg to differ. In US also, it is like that, and mostly it happens. And because we have done international, collaborative research also, the idea person, they were usually the corresponding author.
Who?
Corresponding author. Senior person, corresponding author. So that is usually the trend all over the globe. But I don't know, maybe your experience is something different.
No. So I am not speaking from my individual experience.
Yeah, because I have published from US also. So that's why in US also I was on fellowship. I was first author. Idea was, of course, my mentors, but I worked there as a fellowship. So usually this is who works in the lab or who works on the patient. He is actually the first author. And Dr. Albina gave very nice, example of real life example. So say for example, you are collaborating and all are PI or actual worker of that center. So they should have, because they have equally, say for 100 patients from each center, they should have equal contribution. So like that.
No, so this is not how it happens in America. Across the globe, this is not how it happens. The way I shared, that is how it happens. If somebody has a slightly different experience, it could have happened. There are always exceptions to the rule. Because in medicine, there is nothing 100%. What I am discussing is a general rule of thumb. And as a background, I am on the editorial board of virtually every radiology journal. I am on the society of every continent's radiology society. I have helped start journals for Elsevier Science, radiology clinics of North America, ultrasound clinics. So I am speaking from the universal experience, not what Dogra does. Just to be clear, what I am stating is not by individual rule. I am just stating what is being practiced. And to the extent in America, if you want to oblige somebody and you add his name without asking him, he will take you to the court.
Sir, we move on to the next question that is coming from our online participant. The person asking the question is Dr. Arvind Guru. He is a surgical oncologist from Punjab and also the executive editor of one of our journals, Asian Journal of Oncology. The question is directed to Dr. Albina and Dr. Surinder. His question is that if it is IJMR, which is a multidisciplinary journal of big repute versus a super specialty journal as Journal of Digestive Endoscopy, what are the challenges as well as the strategies to increase the reviewer database? how you engage the reviews, which eventually helps take the journals forward.
I think I had briefly answered that question when you had asked that, engaging reviewers for a super specialty journal is a challenge. So, what we have been doing over last 1 year to increase the reviewer database for our journal is to go across the globe, not even just limited to India. We just try to get our friends and other students who are abroad to help us in review process. So when we constituted our editorial board, we were aware of these challenges, so we got the editorial board from across the globe. And then once you have people from across the globe on your board, you will have some of these suggestions of reviewers from those people. And then obviously gradually you can increase the database. And then plus we encourage our students who are in institutions, once they are in final year of their super specialization, that they should get into peer review. And so we get them into a mentored peer review where the papers which we are reviewing, we ask them to review and then increase the reviewer database by getting these people into the review process. And then we have some good clinicians who are in practice, but because of being busy into practice, they don't have time to do into academics. But then we have been able to encourage few of them to devote some amount of time into publishing and peer reviewing. So that's how gradually we have been able to build up a substantial reviewer database for even an endoscopy society journal.
Good evening. So I follow-up question on that.
Yes, sir.
Sir. For the reviewer. The follow-up question is, some journals pay the reviewer to review. So I do not know what is right or what is wrong. Would love to hear your consensus. What do you think of paying a reviewer to review the article? All of you are welcome to answer.
I think it's not a very good option of paying, because I don't think so that's going to increase your either the quality of the reviews or your reviewer database, because I have I worked for journals which pay their reviewers. So most of the journals follow a model that their authors want a quick review or a quick decision, accelerated or a faster peer review. You have to pay a certain amount of more money to that journal so that it gives you a faster decision. But the amount of money which is paid to the reviewer is not huge. So I don't think so that would be so motivating that you will have an increased reviewer database. So personally, I am not in favor of remuneration for reviewing, because I think that probably will not serve any purpose, neither the quality nor the numbers. I would love to hear what you all feel.
So should I take the reviewer payments question first, or?
Reviewer question, money is most important.
All right.
Most important.
So, all right. So, as a piece of information, IJMR has started remunerating its reviewers since the past year in recognition of their contribution to the peer review process. And I can share some positive experiences. This is from evidence base that we have gained from the past 1 year. For context, it's office order. So we pay a token, not much. And so to say, IJMR is published without any article publishing charges. It is freely published online, and this is a completely in-house effort to recognize and incentivize the reviewers for their contribution, academic contribution. And we have some good experiences. Having said that, IJMR is in a way lucky because of its long-standing. We've had a lot of loyal reviewers, and they are exhilarated to be recognized for their services. It may not be anything. It may be like a sitting fee, a half-day sitting fee, so to say. But then it's extremely encouraging just because they feel more recognized, and it's an over and above incentive to the reviewer credits, so to say, the pub peer credits, so to say. So it's not a very bad idea, and I know that if you're not taking any article processing charges, so to say, then it is literally like charity in a way, but it's very good for the journal, so to say. And then coming back to the question which Dr. Sunny was reading out about reviewer database, again, it's a lot of effort, and I see recently there was an article which was circulating, published in one of the newspapers as well, that finding good reviewers is a real challenge. Yes, it is a huge challenge, but then we found a lot of strategies to it. Let me go from current to the way back. Currently, we have an excellent team of 12 associate editors who also enrich our database with domain-specific reviewers. In the past, we've had this practice of finding reviewers from the reference list of articles. For instance, if there's an article submitted, the most relevant articles cited would be the ones which are cited in that paper. So we had this practice of going through the whole reference list of the articles which were being reviewed and identifying neutral experts who were not related with that writing group with good profiles. And that kind of enriched our database quite a bit. Going forth, we are also opening an open call, an expression of interest for inviting reviewers, which would probably go on the floors next month. We're inviting all Indian scientists, whoever feel that they wish to review, they can give us some time, and they also feel that they are exceptionally good and they're capable of reviewing. So we are inviting that as well. So I think anything that would contribute toward increasing the reviewer database is a requirement today.
Hello, sir. So I would like to make a comment. I would like to make a comment on paying peer reviewers. I think as far as decision-making authority is known that this reviewer has been paid, I think it is justifiable. Because sometimes accepting peer reviewer based on the remuneration may allow the reviewer to accept a much more article to peer reviewers compared to their capacity. And that may affect their decision power and scientific integrity.
No, that's an excellent observation, and we are a government organization, so we have all those checkpoints.
Actually, I had published an article in Indian Journal of Community Medicine on that incentivized peer reviewer is good or bad. That is available on online. Second thing, I would like to make a comment on Dogra's previous questions. Adding author after acceptance. Whatever Indian thinks is, I am not sugar-coated, that's what sir told, is look, guiding a student or operating a patient does not make you author according to what ICMGE says. For authorship criteria are very stringent and that has to be followed. So if I guide my PG and I do not contribute to the writing, I may not be the author. So authorship criteria are very strict, and as far as adding author is concerned, our journal allows to add author only at the stage of revision. At the stage of first revision, after that we are not allowing to add author. After acceptance, not at all. Our journal came across one situation where after acceptance, author is demanding to remove an author from the article. So for that we have filed and we send disclosure form to all the authors independently without informing each other, and after that we have removed that author. That author was also very reputable. So that type of situation also comes to our notice.
So I think there is a lot of speculation in this field regarding these things, because we do come across, as you have experienced, on a case-to-case basis. So I think it's a very ethical thing for our us editors, to introspect about whether we want to be stringent gatekeepers, is that our job, or whether we need to play the role of facilitators to facilitate research. And here we are talking about brain drain in India and no lack of research output and less number of people ranking in the Stanford ranking list. So I think there's a regressive mindset. This is my personal perspective, and we need to break free from what our roles are as gatekeepers. We need to see beyond, certainly.
If I may...
So I disagree with Albina on that matter. research in India, whether we like it or not, I'm not sugarcoating, is in a very poor state, at least in medical colleges. And if I can say this, sitting in the capital of India, I think it's really bad. Because what we say research for medical fraternity is what the PG theses are. 80% of the PG theses are converted, are translated into original articles. We do not have, like in DU, Delhi University of Delhi, like the clinical PhD students were not accepted. For a brief period of time, they were allowed. I also had a PhD student with me who is now in America only. So it's not about brain drain because they are not able to publish. The brain drain is because they are not able to do what they want to do, because the facility, because of the resource constraint, whether it is the resource constraint in the in the form of manpower or equipment or the technology, because we do not have the kind of support. Like we get 50% of our submissions are from overseas, not from India. And the way their papers are worked, like it's very difficult to reject them. The way they have done their workup, for our workup is mostly incomplete except from few premier institutes like AIIMS and PGI Chandigarh. And recently somebody had written a letter to us, that he wrote a letter to me that, I have seen 2 issues and 18% or 20% of the authorship is from PGI Chandigarh or from. To promote the authorship from India or from other institute, we cannot compromise on the content quality, is it? So that cannot happen. So the brain drain is not because they are not able to publish in high impact journals.
So in the last few minutes.
And secondly, I want to also, we do not encourage remuneration for reviewers, but we do have a list of revered reviewers. I have introduced a system of reviewer rating when the section editors submit the recommendations, and we publish their names in the first issue of this thing, and we also reward them, give them a plaque in the national conference every year. So I think that serves as a big incentive, and we get lots of applications from the younger faculty who, yeah.
So, hold on. So now we have another 5 minutes to close the session. So there are 2 questions and I have 2 questions, we have 4. So in 5 minutes, we need to ask 1 minute per question. So you have 20 seconds to ask.
So it's not a question, it's a statement, sir.
Okay. So you have 1 minute, please make the statement.
On the question of paying the reviewers, I represent the Indian Society of Periodontology. So we started a system wherein we appreciate or we recognize the reviewers, the top quality reviewers, by way of registration charges for a conference. Rather than paying them directly, it's not the number of papers you review, but the editor decides the quality of the review which is sent, and they compile a list which is sent to the head office, based on which those 10 people that year, the conference registration fees are waived off.
Thank you.
That's excellent. So I'd like to just add that we have the same reviewer rating system, and we do acknowledge our reviewers and we don't really have any fee for waiver,
So I have 2 questions. One is to let you know how the reviewer gets paid in America. The departments incentivize it. So if I am a reviewer for 10 journals and I document, every journal gives you a proper data that you reviewed this paper, and for each 1 paper you get 0.3 points. And 1 point is on average $750. Departments incentivize you. So an American, when you ask him, but this has to be a PubMed, PMID recognized journal. And some faculties make $30,000 to $40,000 just by reviewing the articles. That is legal. So that is how they get paid. The question I wanted to ask was to Dr. Rahul Ramachandran, that can we use AI in a very sophisticated manner as an editor to review the final review of the paper when two reviewers have accepted? And if I have a little dilemma that one reviewer may be biased, can I use AI rather than my brain?
In practice, yes, but I probably wouldn't recommend it. I would probably say use it as a first review to see whether it meets your quality for your journal publication, and that way you can weed out a lot of the low quality submissions that you have, and that would minimize your work.
Thank you. So I think if anybody else has any burning question, hold on. People who have already asked 2 questions, the 3rd question is on payment only. No free question. So you are free to ask 3rd question, I will decide your payment. Okay, yes sir.
If you have accepted the paper, because there is a lot of rigorous
reviewers have reviewed and the whole thing is done, and so finally it happened to me, and then everything was done. It took almost 2 months, and then when you send the letter to the author that your paper is accepted, the author says that sorry, I want to withdraw it because it is already published. So are there any constant guidelines which you, or it varies from one journal to the other, that what kind of action should be taken, or you just take it case to case, or you are trying to be, you are too lenient or you are too strict on this?
It has happened to me recently, and that was an original article. It
Same
took
happened
4
with me.
peer reviews, and
Yes.
he says that I had simultaneously submitted. He was upfront, that I have simultaneously submitted, we got a mail and we want to withdraw the article. What can you do? You can't do anything. Your peer review has been wasted. Thankfully, we are not, giving payment for the reviewers. That would have gotten wasted.
But do you think we should be making a kind of a policy on this?
So COPE has a flowchart.
So COPE has a flowchart, but yes, then is it like, are we really implementing it?
It's an individual choice.
It's an individual choice, based on the editor, right?
You can put a cap on a policy like we have on our journal that, multiple submissions, simultaneous submissions are not allowed. And if they breach that, then you can, the journal can take a decision saying the next article that you submit will not be considered. Okay. So that's a case-to-case basis, and it's an off-target effect. You can't really do anything.
Yeah.
There was.
Yeah, this is in response to the query and the subsequent answer whether AI can serve as an alternative to our brain. I mean, it is a very poor alternative as of now. And as I had in fact argued, I think quite vociferously in favor of integrating AI totally in our editorial management system. But I was very careful to point out that at no point, not even on a single point in that very detailed workflow, can we allow AI to supplant the human agent, that is the editor or reviewer. The AI cannot, I repeat, cannot have any kind of ability to take the judgment call or to act as a kind of a decider in accepting or recommending rejection of any article. That ability or responsibility is of the reviewer and or the editor alone. If we let go of this, what the AI can do, AI can point out the pointers based on facts, that this is what I found out in the article. Based on those absolutely factual data, it is for the reviewer or editor to take the decision.
A great point.
There was that on the back side of the last question of the session. Please give the mic. Yeah, please ask.
Good evening, sir and ma'am, all present here, respected teachers. I am an MBBS undergraduate student, so like all the sessions we are having from morning, multiple points have been shared by many of the speakers that the research encouragement in the undergraduates as well as the postgraduate student is quite less, leading to a, I can say, poor quality of publishing in our country. So for that we also we have ICMR STS that encourages us to conduct researches and all that. So just as an undergraduate perspective, I just wanted to know your views. My first question is that after rejection from ICMR STS, we often don't get the peer review, we don't get the reason why it got rejected. I know the submissions are many, but it would have helped us to develop, modify our project.
We got your question. I will answer your question first.
And the second question.
No, one at a time. I cannot remember two things in my life. One, I will answer first question. Most of the time, editor will look at the manuscript and the editorial board will make a decision not to send the manuscript for peer review because of many reasons, and the commonest being not following the author guidelines. So the article is rejected, therefore there are no comments why article was rejected. The comments are only there if the editor had decided to send the article for peer review and peer review suggested to reject. So that's why some articles have a point-wise discussion why it was rejected, some articles don't have. And then number three, it is the discretion of the editor. Most editors get hundreds of articles. They go through it and make a decision whether they want to review it or they don't want to review it. So, second question, that will be the last one. Go ahead.
Sir, actually my first question was not regarding publishing in a journal. It was regarding an ICMR STS, the short-term studentship. In that case.
Please give a mic to...
It is also the more of a duty of your supervisor actually.
So I think his question is about the short-term studentship proposal being rejected.
He is asking the question about the short-term student project. Okay, they are students, MBBS students. They apply for short-term student projects to the ICMR. Okay, so once they are rejected, they are not passing on the comments why these students have been rejected. So that is the story which is happening. Okay, they don't do they don't pass on any comments. There are some which are accepted because their quality is good, so that is why they are accepted.
But this question is not for this forum.
No. But he is asking some question which we should answer because I am a dean research there, so I know how it is being done, everything. So we have this institute paying. In some institutes they are paying. They have, for example, in Jipumar we have GJ stores. Okay, so we have 40 students being given 10,000 rupees as a supporting grant for doing a 2-month research projects. And there is a system evaluation, and when they are evaluating, they are passing on comments why it is their research project has not been accepted. Okay, so that is.
Thank you. I know there are many questions. We can continue the discussion outside. We also have to vacate the hall, otherwise they will throw us out physically. I want to thank the panelists for wonderful presentation and discussion, each and every one of them. Thank you again. And now I will thank the audience for their absolute great participation. This was the first experiment in bringing out the truth. I am very happy that 80% of the discussion was without sugarcoating, 20% was with sugar coating. It's okay, I accept it. We discussed that in India we need accountability. We discussed that we need improvement in our research, in our English, in our publication. We need to overcome plagiarism. We need to have a better review system. We need to hold people accountable if they are doing mistakes. And do not chalta hai attitude is not good. You are creating problem for yourself. We talked about indexing. There were very good suggestions of Government of India, Mr. Adani. I know he's very good at it because now Adani Airport in Mumbai also sells the sweets made by them when you're sitting there. So, business after business. So, we should approach them. We should approach many other people, and there is also opportunity to create our own indexing service as a non-profit organization where there is a will, there is a way, and I am personally very much committed in that. We are going to continue with this fellowship, this conference next year. Only thing is, I am not sure if the free model is working, because until unless you have skin in the game, people show total irresponsibility. So that's one lesson I have learned little slowly. I am not too old. They say old dogs don't learn the new tricks, but I am a dog who will still learn the tricks. We also have a thought process of starting 4 editorial fellowships to facilitate improvement in this. It is an open call for anyone who would like to be a mentor for 3 months to allow a person. We will have a committee for selection. People can apply 3-month scientific scholar editorial fellowship under a mentor who is qualified, and we will pay 25,000 rupees stipend to that person to facilitate this. So this is an open call. It depends upon all of you how you want to move it forward. If I hear from nobody, I am going to save money. If I hear from somebody, we will pay the money and implement it. And with that, I truly want to thank all the speakers, the moderators, the panelists, the attendees for asking questions, for engaging, the event management company, the Lalit management, videographers, photographer, every single person who contributed, and very big thanks to Pradesh and Kubasit for having sponsored and worked hard to make this event possible. A big round of applause for them. And with this,